Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 439 of CryptoBiography, and it's part 4 of Vampire Republic. And here we go. His housemates came and went. Duncan had the smallest room, but he had it to himself. He went to bed early for him as he was tired and lay in bed. Tired or not, it took him a long time to sleep. It was that sort of sleep that sneaks up on a person, teases him, makes him think he won't sleep all night, but then, just when he's sure that he'll stare at the ceiling all night, slips in and substitutes itself for consciousness. He never knew when he fell asleep. He woke up, or did he? In the middle of the night. There was someone at the window. He was in a dream, or so he felt. He looked over. There was a face at his window. It was the vampire. His room was on the ground floor, but the house was up a few steps from the ground on this side. No one could just be at the window. The vampire was floating there. He half heard the vampire whisper at him. He sat up in bed and turned to face him, but he couldn't wake up. He could tell the vampire was saying something, but what it was he couldn't hear. But he found himself wanting to go to the window to open it. He swung his legs out of bed and stood up. But as he took his first step, the cord he had tied around his ankle tightened and pulled a series of metal mugs off the bed and on the floor, making a racket. He woke up. He was already looking at the window, but in a flash, the face had gone. He knew he had taken an awful risk, betting that the old stories about vampires and hypnotism were correct. But on the other hand, if they were wrong, and vampires were more powerful even than they seemed, he had no defense anyway. None of his roommates had heard the clatter. He closed the drapes of his window. Now that he had done his test, he had no interest in being a victim of gaze-based hypno tricks. He quietly checked the other bedrooms of the house. His was the only one on the ground floor, with 3 more upstairs. They all, he confirmed, had their drapes closed. They usually did, 2 of them because they faced the south and got a lot of sun, and the last because there was another house across from their bedroom window and they wanted privacy. After also confirming the windows and doors downstairs were locked, he had locked them earlier, but he couldn't bear not to check them again. He went to sleep. But not before sending a text to Vanessa, warning her to make sure her shades were closed as well. The next morning he went over to Vanessa. He told her about what happened, and they agreed that she would take the same precautions as him, including letting her housemates know that a creep was looking into windows. He considered letting campus security know about the window peeper, but then thought better of it. He didn't think it would do much good and might put some people at risk. Also, he had gotten a strange feeling from the head of security and wasn't sure he would tell him anything real. Though he tried to go back to his routine, studying and so on, he was constantly returning in his mind to the 2 encounters with the vampire he had had, and what it meant, and how much danger he might be in, and what it all might mean. Toward evening, he came to a conclusion. He had nothing, really, to work with. He was completely on the back foot. If this vampire was out to kill him, there was little he could do to prevent it, as he had no idea what the vampire could do beyond his one experiment with putting a wake-up device on his ankle. He also had no idea where that vampire was, other than he must be somewhere fairly nearby, as he had been seen twice in a few nights. And finally, he had no one other than Vanessa who might help him, and even believe him. Now he was quite at this vampire's mercy. Part of him wondered if he shouldn't be looking to leave the area, but a very deep part of him refused to surrender, to give up his life, his progress towards his degree, and his self-respect, as one who always felt he should help others. He was happy that he had helped Abby. He was not going to run from the fight, however disadvantaged he might be. He thought about it, and came to the conclusion that there was only one way to deal with a vampire: put himself in danger again. And that's the end of the story for this week. Hope you're enjoying it. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Blue Sky. And thanks for listening. Words and music copyright 2025, Brandon Starr, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.